My wife looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You don't get a say in my friendships." 3 weeks later, she was crying that I filed for divorce. But I was already gone. All right, Reddit, buckle up because this one's a doozy. My wife joined some empowerment circle that turned her into a completely different person. She started coming home at 2 a.m., smelling like someone else's cologne, lying about where she was, and telling me I was controlling for asking basic questions. So when she asked her toxic friends if she should even stay married to me, I answered for her. Here's what went down. I, 34 male, work as a financial analyst for a regional investment firm here in Columbus. Been grinding at this career for about 12 years now, worked my way up from entry-level number cruncher to senior analyst. The job pays well, keeps me busy, and honestly, I'm good at it. Numbers make sense to me. They don't lie. They don't manipulate. They don't tell you one thing and mean another. People? Not so much, apparently. My wife Megan, 32 female, and I got married 9 years ago. Met her at a friend's birthday party back when we were both in our early 20s. She was sharp, funny, had this confidence that drew me in immediately. We dated for 2 years before I proposed, then spent another year planning the wedding. Everything felt right. We bought a house together 5 years ago. Nothing fancy but ours. Colonial style in a decent neighborhood, the kind of place where you wave at neighbors and they actually wave back. White picket fence energy, you know the vibe. For most of those 9 years, things were good. We had our routines. Tuesday nights were takeout Chinese from this place downtown we both loved. We'd sit at the kitchen table, eat straight from the cartons, and talk about our days. Weekends were lazy mornings, coffee on the back porch, and errands in the afternoon. We weren't the most exciting couple, but we were solid. Stable. At least I thought we were. Looking back, I should have seen the signs earlier. But when you're in a marriage, you make excuses. You assume the best. You tell yourself it's just a rough patch. You convince yourself that the woman you married is still in there somewhere, even when the evidence says otherwise. The whole mess started about 4 weeks before everything exploded. Megan came home from work one Tuesday, buzzing with excitement about this new group she'd found through social media. Called it the Columbus Women's Empowerment Circle. Women supporting women, she said. A safe space to talk about real issues without judgment. At first, it seemed harmless. Coffee meetups on Saturday mornings, book discussions on Wednesday evenings. She'd come home energized, talking about how refreshing it was to connect with women who understood her. I was happy she had something outside of work and our routine. Everyone needs friends. Everyone needs community. I wasn't about to be that guy who complained about his wife having a social life, but then the meetings started getting more frequent. 3 times a week, then 4. The evening meetups started lasting later. 11 at night, midnight, then 2 in the morning on a work night. And her vocabulary changed in ways that felt rehearsed, like she was reading from a script someone else had written. Suddenly, everything I did was toxic masculinity. Every question I asked was emotional labor I was unfairly demanding. Every concern I expressed was me trying to reclaim my power over her. The woman I married didn't talk like this. She'd always been direct, practical, straightforward. These were someone else's words coming out of her mouth, and I started to wonder whose. The leader of this group was a woman named Simone, divorced at 27, never remarried, and from what I could tell from her social media presence, she seemed to collect married women as followers like trading cards. Her feed was full of quotes about knowing your worth and refusing to settle and breaking free from the chains of expectations. All very inspirational if you didn't notice that every one of her relationships had crashed and burned spectacularly. Then there was Jade, who had 2 kids with 2 different fathers and couldn't understand why neither man wanted to stay involved in her life. She posted constantly about being a strong, independent mother, while simultaneously blasting the fathers of her children for not stepping up. The cognitive dissonance was impressive. And Wendy, who was on her 3rd engagement and worked in some pyramid scheme selling essential oils or supplements or whatever the newest scam was, she'd post about building her empire while simultaneously asking to borrow money from friends because she'd invested her savings into inventory that wasn't moving. 3 divorces between the 3 of them, 4 kids with absent fathers, 7 failed jobs in the past year, multiple bankruptcies, evictions, and restraining orders if you dug deep enough. But apparently, these were the women my wife of 9 years had chosen as her life advisors. The irony wasn't lost on me. When I first mentioned that these new friends seemed to have a lot of drama in their lives, Megan's response was immediate and sharp. The defensiveness came so fast it felt practiced. "You don't get to choose my friends anymore," she said. "I'm not choosing anything," I replied. "I'm just pointing out that every conversation you have with them ends with you being angry at me for something I didn't even know I did." That's because you don't understand female friendship. We support each other. We validate each other's experiences. We don't judge each other's choices. But the support seemed one-directional. Simone posted constantly on social media about her situationship with some married professor at the university. Jade shared screenshots of texts from her children's fathers, calling them deadbeats while collecting child support from both. Wendy documented each new multi-level marketing scheme with the same enthusiasm, never acknowledging the previous failures that had left her in debt. These were the women teaching my wife about healthy relationships. These were the voices she trusted more than mine. One Tuesday evening in March, everything came to a head. We were eating takeout Chinese from the cartons, something we used to do every week back when things were simple. Back when we actually enjoyed each other's company. Back when a Tuesday night meant connection instead of conflict. I set down my fork slowly and studied her face. Megan had changed over the past few weeks. New jewelry I'd never seen before, a sharpness in her eyes that hadn't been there a month ago. The way she held her chin up like she was bracing for a fight before I'd even said anything. Her whole posture had shifted from partner to adversary. I'm not trying to control who you spend time with, I said, keeping my voice level. I'm just wondering why you need to go out 3 times this week. Because I want to, she crossed her arms. Because these are my friends and we support each other. We don't judge each other's choices. Unlike some people, the irony of her judging me while talking about not judging wasn't lost on me. But I kept that observation to myself. I'd learned that pointing out contradictions only made things worse. So when I ask where you're going at 10 at night, that's me trying to control you? Her face flushed red. Yes, it is. I'm an adult. I don't need permission to leave my own house. I don't need to report my movements to you like you're my parole officer. I never said you needed permission. I asked because I care about your safety. You're driving home at 2 in the morning on dark roads. That's not controlling. That's concerned. She stood up from the table, her chair scraping against the floor. This is exactly what they said you'd do. Turn it around and make me feel guilty for wanting independence. Make yourself the victim when I'm the one being suffocated. They, the women from her empowerment circle, the ones who'd never met me but apparently had me all figured out. Independence is fine, I said carefully. But when your independence includes coming home at 2 in the morning, smelling like cigarettes and someone else's cologne, maybe we should talk about what's actually going on. Maybe, she said, her voice dropping to something cold and final. I don't owe you explanations anymore. Maybe I've been living my life according to what you think is appropriate for too long. Maybe I've been putting your needs before mine for 9 years, and I'm finally learning that I matter too. The kitchen went quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator. I looked at her, really looked at her. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't even the woman from 6 months ago. Something fundamental had shifted, and I was only now seeing how far the damage had spread. All right, I said finally. You're absolutely right. Your friendships are your choice. Your decisions are your choice. I can't stop you from making them. She blinked, clearly expecting more of a fight. She'd been braced for an argument, and my agreement threw her off balance. Good. Finally. And since we're talking about choices, I've got some of my own to make. The confidence in her expression flickered for just a second. What's that supposed to mean? I stood up and started clearing the dishes. It means if you want complete independence in your choices, then I get the same independence in mine. Fair is fair. You can't have it both ways. She followed me to the sink. Don't be dramatic. This is about friendship, not our marriage. Is it? I turned to face her. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're getting life advice from women who can't maintain their own relationships. Women who've left a trail of broken families and empty bank accounts everywhere they go. And you're treating their opinions like gospel. Her eyes narrowed. Don't you dare insult my friends. I'm not insulting anyone. I'm making an observation based on publicly available information. But you're right. It's not my place to judge. Your choices are personal. The way I said personal made her pause. She wasn't stupid. She could hear the shift in my tone. Could sense that something had changed in me too. What are you planning? She asked. Nothing dramatic. Just exercising my own right to personal choices. She stared at me for a long moment, trying to figure out if I was bluffing. I wasn't. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt clear. Certain. The fog of hoping things would get better had finally lifted. Good, she said finally, turning away. Maybe now you'll understand what independence actually means. Oh, I replied quietly. I'm about to understand it very well. 3 days after our kitchen confrontation, I did what any reasonable person would do when their spouse suddenly starts taking life advice from strangers. I got curious about who these people actually were. I started digging. It took me about 20 minutes on social media to find the group. Amazing how much people share when they think nobody's paying attention. The profile was semi-public, visible enough to see the dynamics at play, open enough to confirm every suspicion I'd been harboring. The feed was filled with smoothies captioned Self-Care Sunday and quotes about leaving dead weight behind. Photos from bars with hashtags like Freedom Feels and No Apologies and Living My Truth. The comment section was a constant stream of members bashing their partners, cheering each other on for increasingly questionable behavior, celebrating boundary violations as growth. One post caught my attention. It was from 2 Saturdays ago, posted at 2 in the morning. A group photo at some uptown lounge. Megan was clearly visible, laughing, leaning against some guy I'd never seen before. Her hand was on his arm in a way that didn't read as casual. Her comment read, "Best night ever, finally feeling alive." The problem was, she told me she was at Simone's apartment watching movies, said they'd had a quiet night in, said she'd lost track of time, and that's why she got home so late. I screenshotted everything. Call it paranoia or preparation. But something told me I'd need documentation. My analyst brain was kicking in, treating this like any other problem that needed data to solve. That evening, Megan came home later than usual, humming to herself. She seemed lighter, happier, but the happiness wasn't directed at me. "Good day?" I asked from the couch. "Great day. We had lunch after work to plan this weekend." "Plan what?" She kicked off her heels and stretched. "Just girl time. You wouldn't understand. It's a female bonding thing. Try me. We're thinking about doing a wellness retreat. Get away for a few days. Reconnect with ourselves. Adults only resort. Spa treatments. Meditation classes. The works. Wellness retreat with women who collected married men like trading cards. Spa treatments at an adults only resort. The red flags were piling up so fast I could barely count them. "Sounds expensive," I observed. "It is. But we all decided we deserve it." She paused in the doorway. "When's the last time you spent money on something that made you happy? You're always so focused on saving and investing and planning for the future. Sometimes you need to live in the present." Interesting question, considering I'd spent my lunch hour researching divorce attorneys. Turns out living in the present meant different things to different people. "You're right," I said. "Maybe it's time I started investing in my own happiness, too." She paused, something in my tone catching her attention. She studied my face like she was looking for clues. "What kind of investment?" "Personal choices, remember? I'm sure you'll understand." I called my old college friend Connor that night. He was an attorney in Cleveland, and while he didn't practice family law, he'd know who to call. We'd been roommates freshman year, stayed close ever since. He was the kind of friend who showed up when things got hard. "Nate, hey, what's going on? I need some information. Hypothetically, how does divorce work in Ohio?" There was a pause. A long one. "This about Megan?" "Just information for now." Connor sighed. "Ohio's a no-fault state. Means you don't need to prove wrongdoing. Just that the marriage is irretrievably broken. Usually takes a few months if it's uncontested. Longer if it gets ugly." "Why? What's happening?" I gave him the abbreviated version. The new friends, the late nights, the lies about where she was, the weekend retreat that was being planned, the cologne that wasn't mine. "Man," Connor said when I finished. "Look, I know a guy in Columbus, Harold Sterling. He's sharp, and he doesn't mess around. Handles high-conflict divorces, knows how to protect assets. Want me to send you his contact?" "Yeah, send it over." "You sure about this path? Once you start, it's hard to walk back. I've seen guys file and then regret it when things calm down. I'm not starting anything. I'm just gathering information, making personal choices." "All right, man. I'll text you his number. And Nate, document everything. Screenshots, dates, times, locations. If this goes sideways, you'll want a paper trail." "Already am." Thursday evening, I tried one more time to reach her. Really reach her. Not just exchange accusations across battle lines. Give her one more chance to be honest. She came home at 6, earlier than usual. I took it as a sign. Maybe a good one. "Can we talk? About us?" Her guard went up immediately. I could see the walls going up behind her eyes. "What about us? I feel like we're disconnected. When did we stop being a team? When did we stop being partners?" She set down her purse slowly. "Maybe we were never a team? Maybe I was just following your lead this whole time. Maybe I was just playing a role you wanted me to play. Is there someone else?" The question came out before I could stop it. The one question I'd been avoiding because I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. Why do men always jump to that? She shook her head. "This is about me finding me, not about replacing you with someone else. Not everything is about you, Nate. Then help me understand what's happening, because from where I sit, My wife is staying out until 2 in the morning, lying about where she's been, and getting life advice from women whose lives are falling apart. Something doesn't add up. You don't know them. I know what they post online. I know their track record. 3 divorces between the 3 of them. 4 kids with absent fathers. Multiple failed businesses and broken relationships. But sure, they're qualified to tell you how to live your life. They understand me. They see me. Something you stopped doing a long time ago. They're using you to validate their own choices. They need you to fail so they don't feel so bad about failing themselves. That's not friendship. That's recruitment. Megan's face went red. Get out. This is my house, too. Then I'm leaving. She grabbed her purse and headed for the stairs. I heard her on the phone immediately, her voice carrying down through the vents, not even trying to be quiet. He's starting to suspect, she said to whoever was on the other end. No, I didn't tell him anything. This weekend will be perfect timing. Perfect timing for what? I wondered. But I was pretty sure I already knew the answer. Friday afternoon, Megan came downstairs with a weekend bag already packed. She bought new clothes, I noticed. Expensive ones I'd never seen before. And the bag itself was new. Designer label? Not cheap. The group is doing a wellness retreat in Cincinnati, she announced. Leaving after work. Back Sunday evening. I looked up from my coffee. Cincinnati in March. It'll be chilly. We're staying at the Suites Hotel with spa access. Very exclusive. Very nice. I nodded slowly, noticing the new lingerie visible in her half-open bag. Tag still on. The kind of underwear she hadn't worn for me in months. Maybe longer. I already requested the time off work, she continued. This isn't a discussion. This isn't me asking for permission. You're absolutely right, I said. Your choices are personal. Have a good time. She studied my face, looking for signs of the argument she expected. When she didn't find any, she seemed almost disappointed, almost suspicious. You're really okay with this? I met her eyes directly. You said I don't get a say. I'm respecting that. Oh, she picked up her bag. Well, good. Simone picked her up at 5. I watched from the window as all 4 women piled into the car, already laughing before they'd even left the driveway. Megan didn't look back at the house once. Didn't wave, didn't hesitate, just climbed in and closed the door on 9 years of marriage like it was nothing. The moment her car disappeared around the corner, I went into motion. The fog lifted. The waiting was over. First call was to Harold Sterling, the attorney Connor had recommended. I left a message requesting a Monday morning appointment, explained the situation briefly, said I needed to move fast. Then I started documenting. I photographed every room in our house, every piece of furniture we'd bought together, every appliance, every detail of our shared life. Timestamp everything. Create a record. I pulled copies of our financial records, our marriage license, insurance documents, investment statements. I organized all the screenshots from social media into a folder with dates and timestamps. Built a timeline of lies. Next came the practical matters. I opened my laptop and transferred half our joint savings into a new personal account. $18,400. Exactly half. Not a penny more. Clean and fair. Then I started packing 2 suitcases with essentials. Clothes, toiletries, important documents, things I'd need if I wasn't coming back. My younger brother Trevor lived in Indianapolis, about 3 hours away. I called him. Hey, Nate, what's up? Can I stay with you for a few days? Maybe longer? Silence. Trevor knew me well enough to read between the lines. What happened? I'm done, Trevor. She's in Cincinnati this weekend with her group, probably doing exactly what I think she's doing. I'm filing Monday. Man, are you sure? This is serious. I'm sure. 9 years or not, I'm done being the safety net while she tests the waters. All right. Guest room's yours as long as you need it. Drive safe. Thanks, brother. I owe you. I loaded my car that evening. 2 suitcases, my laptop, the folder of evidence, a few personal items with sentimental value. I left everything else behind. Furniture, decorations, wedding photos, things we'd accumulated together that suddenly felt like props in a play I was no longer performing in. Before I left, I walked through the house one more time. Kitchen, where we'd had our last real conversation. Living room, where we used to watch movies on Sunday nights. Bedroom, where she'd stopped reaching for me months ago. Every room held a memory of who we used to be. None of them held who we'd become. I locked the door behind me, put my key under the mat, and drove to Indianapolis. 3 hours of dark highway and country radio stations. Time to think, time to process. By the time I pulled into Trevor's driveway at 11, I felt lighter than I had in months. Trevor met me at the door with coffee and a spare key. You look tired, he said. I feel free. That's not the same thing. No, but it's better. Saturday morning, while Megan was presumably enjoying her wellness retreat, I got confirmation of what I already suspected. Jade posted a story on social media. Just a quick video of the group at breakfast, captioned, "Living Our Best Lives." In the background, clear as day, was Megan sitting at a table with a man I didn't recognize. His hand was on her knee. She was laughing at something he'd said. I screenshotted it before Jade took it down 20 minutes later, added it to the folder. Then Wendy posted a photo of the hotel pool. Megan was in it, wearing a bikini I'd never seen. The same man was in the frame, arm around her shoulder. Caption: "Sunshine and good vibes only." That one stayed up for an hour before someone must have reminded her that Megan was technically still married. I forwarded both screenshots to Harold's office email with a note. More evidence for Monday's meeting. Saturday afternoon, I drove around Indianapolis with Trevor, looking at apartments. Nothing serious yet, just getting a feel for the market. 3 bedrooms in Broad Ripple, a loft downtown near the canal, a quiet 1-bedroom in Carmel with a balcony overlooking a park. "You thinking about moving here permanently?" Trevor asked. "Maybe, or maybe I'll stay in Columbus. Haven't decided yet. Just keeping my options open." "You're handling this better than I expected. I've had time to process. When your wife tells you to your face that you don't get a say in her friendships, you start preparing for what comes next." Sunday evening, I got a text from Megan. "Coming home late, long drive, don't wait up." I replied, "Take your time. I'm not there anyway." Her response came fast. "What? Where are you?" "Made some personal choices. We'll talk when you're ready." She called immediately. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Same result. Third time, she left a message. "Nate, what is going on? Are you at your brother's? Are you having some kind of breakdown? This isn't like you." Breakdown. Interesting word choice from someone who just spent the weekend with another man at a hotel while wearing her wedding ring. But sure, I was the one having a breakdown. I texted back, "We'll talk Monday after my meeting." The calls kept coming. 17 more that night. I silenced my phone and went to sleep. Monday morning, I sat across from Harold Sterling in his downtown Columbus office. I'd driven back early, stopping at a diner for breakfast and a clear head before the meeting. Harold was in his 50s, silver-haired, with the kind of calm demeanor that suggested he'd seen it all before. I handed him the folder. Every screenshot, every lie documented, every photo from the Cincinnati weekend, the timeline of behavior changes, the financial records, everything. He flipped through it methodically, his expression unchanging. "This is thorough," he said finally. "You've done good work here. I wanted to make sure there was no ambiguity. There isn't. Ohio's no fault, so technically you don't need any of this to file. But if she contests or tries to paint you as the bad guy, this documentation will be valuable. What's the process from here?" I file the petition today. She gets served within 72 hours. After that, it depends on whether she cooperates or fights. Based on what you've shown me, my guess is she'll fight at first, then realize she's got nothing to stand on. How long until it's final? If she cooperates, could be done in 90 days. If she fights, 6 months to a year. Whatever it takes. I'm not going back. Harold nodded. "I'll have the papers ready this afternoon. One question. How do you want her served?" "At her office. Tuesday if possible." "Consider it done." Megan got served at her accounting firm on Tuesday afternoon. I know, because my phone exploded with calls and texts immediately after. 37 messages, 22 voicemails, all variations of, "How could you do this?" and "You're being unreasonable, and this is a mistake you'll regret." I responded to none of them. Then her sister called. I didn't answer. Then her best friend from college called. Same result. Then came the tearful voicemail at 3 in the morning. "Nate, please. I know I made mistakes. We can work through this. I'll stop seeing the group. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't throw away 9 years. Please. Whatever I want." Funny how whatever you want becomes an option only after consequences arrive. "Wednesday?" her mother called. I actually answered that one. "Nate, what's happening?" "Megan is devastated. She says you filed for divorce without any warning." "Mrs. Patterson, did she tell you about Cincinnati?" Silence. "Did she tell you about the man at the hotel? The photos? The new lingerie? The wellness retreat that was actually a romantic getaway with someone she met through her empowerment group?" Longer silence. "She didn't," I continued. "I didn't think so. Maybe ask her about that before you call me again." "Nate, I had no idea." "No one ever does until they do." 2 days later, I got a text from Megan's mother. "I've seen the photos. I owe you an apology." I had no idea what she was doing. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Thursday, Megan showed up at my office. Building security called me to ask if I wanted to see her. I said no. 20 minutes later, they called again to say she was still in the lobby, crying. I told them to ask her to leave, or they'd need to call the police. She left. Friday, she tried a different approach. Showed up at Trevor's apartment in Indianapolis. How she got the address, I have no idea. Maybe she tracked my phone before I removed her from the plan. Maybe she called around to mutual friends. Either way, there she was on Trevor's doorstep at 7 in the morning, mascara running, begging to talk. I was in the kitchen when the doorbell rang. Trevor looked through the peephole and turned to me with raised eyebrows. It's her. Don't let her in. Wasn't planning on it. Trevor handled it. He doesn't want to see you, he said through the barely open door. I just need 5 minutes. Please, let him know I'm here. He knows. The answer is still no. This is between me and my husband. He's not your husband anymore. He filed. You got served. That's how it works. He's making a mistake. 9 years, Trevor. 9 years doesn't mean anything to him? You should have thought about that in Cincinnati. That landed. Through the crack in the door, I could see her face crumble. He told you? He showed me the photos. The ones Jade and Wendy were kind enough to post online. Real subtle, by the way. Those were taken out of context. Sure they were. You should go. She didn't go. She sat on the front steps for 2 hours. I watched from the window as she cycled through crying, texting furiously, making phone calls, and staring at the door like she could will it to open. At one point, she tried knocking again. Trevor ignored it. Eventually, she started pacing the driveway. A neighbor walked by with their dog and gave her a concerned look. Megan tried to wave like everything was normal, but her red eyes and shaking hands gave her away. 2 hours in, Trevor finally called the non-emergency police line and asked for advice. An officer came out 20 minutes later, spoke with her gently, and eventually convinced her to leave. She argued at first, said she had every right to be there, said she just wanted to talk to her husband. The officer explained calmly that she was on private property, and the residents had asked her to leave. She drove back to Columbus that night. I know because she texted me at midnight. I can't believe you had the cops called on me. I replied, I can't believe you showed up uninvited at my brother's house after what you did. We're even. She didn't respond. The next 3 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, housing arrangements, and rebuilding. I found a one-bedroom condo in Columbus's Short North neighborhood. Clean lines, modern kitchen, balcony with a view of the city. Half the space of the house Megan and I had shared, but entirely mine. Work became an anchor. My boss noticed the divorce but handled it professionally. Extra projects to keep me busy. A promotion track that suddenly seemed more achievable without the drama at home weighing me down. Trevor came up for a weekend to help me furnish the new place. We assembled IKEA furniture, ordered pizza, watched basketball until 2 in the morning. My first real weekend in months without checking my phone every 5 minutes to see where my wife claimed to be. You seem good, Trevor said during a commercial break. I feel good. Better than I have in months. You're not second-guessing anything? Not for a second. Should have done it sooner. Meanwhile, Megan's world continued its slow-motion collapse. Frank, her boss at the accounting firm, called me 2 weeks after I filed. Nate, I'm calling as a courtesy. Megan's performance has declined significantly. She's missed 3 days this week, and today she broke down crying in a client meeting. I appreciate you telling me, Frank, but that's not my concern anymore. I know something's going on. She's told people here you filed for divorce. Is there any chance of reconciliation? The divorce is proceeding. What she does with her career is her choice. Understood. I had to ask. A week later, I heard through mutual friends that Megan had been put on performance improvement at work. 2 weeks after that, she quit before they could fire her. Walked out in the middle of a Tuesday, apparently. Just packed her desk and left. The empowerment circle imploded spectacularly over the next month. Simone's married professor got caught when his wife found their messages. She'd been suspicious for months. Finally hired someone to pull phone records. The messages were bad. Really bad. Explicit photos, plans to leave their spouses, promises of a future together that neither of them was willing to actually build. The professor got suspended pending a disciplinary hearing. His university issued a statement about conduct unbecoming of a faculty member. His wife filed for divorce and named Simone in the proceedings as a contributing factor. But it got worse for Simone. The professor's wife went nuclear. She compiled every screenshot, every photo, every love note, and shared them with Simone's employer. Simone worked at a PR firm downtown, the kind of place that couldn't afford association with scandal. They let her go within a week. Culture fit concerns, according to the official statement. Translation: we can't have our public relations specialist becoming a public relations nightmare. Her social media went silent overnight. Her last post before going dark was a single sentence. Sometimes you're the villain in someone else's story. Yeah, sometimes you are. Jade's situation was even messier. Both of her children's fathers independently filed for formal custody evaluations within 2 weeks of each other. Turns out they'd been talking, sharing notes, comparing horror stories. Her constant posting about her party lifestyle, the late nights, the rotating men in her life, all of it became documented evidence in court. Every Instagram story, every TikTok video, every Facebook post became a line item in a custody brief. The judge didn't love seeing photos of the primary caregiver doing shots at 2 a.m. while the kids were supposedly at grandma's house. Didn't love the video of Jade getting into a screaming match with a bouncer outside a club at 3 in the morning. Really didn't love the post where she called both fathers sperm donors who peaked in high school, while tagging them both. She lost primary custody of both kids within 2 months. Supervised visitation twice a week. The kind of outcome that makes you wonder why people share everything on the internet, like there are no consequences. Last I heard, she moved back in with her mother, was working at a grocery store, and had deleted every social media account she owned. Wendy's third fiancé called off their wedding after discovering the mountain of debt she'd hidden from him. $23,000 in credit card bills from failed MLM inventory she'd stashed in a storage unit. He found out because a collections agency called the house looking for her, and he did some digging. When he found the storage unit receipt, he drove over there and found boxes upon boxes of unsold supplements, essential oils, and wellness products that had been sitting untouched for months. Not only did he end the engagement, he also took back the car he'd co-signed for her, called her parents to explain why, moved out of their shared apartment the same day. Her engagement ring showed up on Facebook Marketplace 3 days later, priced at a fraction of what it was worth. Nobody bought it. Her final public post was an apology for encouraging behaviors I had no business encouraging. She specifically mentioned Megan by name. I told her things about marriage and relationships that I had no right to say. I was wrong. I'm sorry. The Columbus Women's Empowerment Circle disbanded quietly. No final post, no explanation. Just gone, like it had never existed. The social media pages were deleted. The group chat apparently exploded into finger-pointing and blame. 3 friendships that had been ride or die suddenly became every woman for herself. Megan posted her own statement a month after I filed. I destroyed my marriage by listening to people who couldn't maintain their own relationships. I take full responsibility for my actions. The women I thought were supporting me were actually pulling me down with them. To anyone who's been hurt by my choices, I'm sorry. To my husband, who deserved better than what I gave him, I'm sorry. To myself, for losing everything I had, I'm sorry. The comments flooded in. Some supportive, many critical. One stood out. We tried to warn you. You called us jealous. Hope you learned something. She didn't respond to any of them. 2 months after I filed, Megan asked to meet in person. I agreed, choosing a coffee shop in Westerville. Neutral territory. She was already there when I arrived. 15 minutes early. She looked smaller than I remembered. Thinner. Dark circles under her eyes that even makeup couldn't hide. The confidence that had drawn me to her a decade ago was completely gone. Thank you for meeting me, she said. What do you need? I fired my attorney. I'm not fighting the divorce anymore. You can have whatever you want. The house, the savings, everything. I don't want everything. I want fair. Then fair. Whatever you decide is fair. House gets sold. We split proceeds. Standard division of everything else. That's fair. She nodded, staring at her untouched coffee. Simone's life is ruined, she said quietly. Jade lost her kids. Wendy's alone and in debt. Everyone from the group, their lives just fell apart. Including yours. Including mine. She looked up at me. I threw away everything for nothing. For women who didn't care about me at all. For a man whose name I can barely remember. You threw it away for the feeling of being free from consequences. I know. Good. Maybe the lesson sticks. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. What happens now? Now the lawyers handle the rest. We sign papers, we move on. And us? There is no us. There hasn't been for a while, I just didn't want to admit it. I stood up. Take care of yourself, Megan. Seriously, get your life together. But do it for you, not because you think it'll bring me back. I walked out into the spring sunlight and didn't look back. 3 months after I filed, we met at the Franklin County Courthouse for the final hearing. Brief, procedural. 11 minutes. 9 years reduced to a judge's signature and a stack of paperwork. The judge reviewed the papers. The marriage is hereby dissolved. Division of assets as agreed. That was it. Done. Outside the courthouse, Megan tried one more time. Can we at least be friends someday? I don't know. Maybe. But not now. Not for a long time. I walked to my car. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing alone on the courthouse steps as her mother's car pulled up to collect her. She climbed in without looking back. 6 months later, I barely recognized my own life. The condo was fully furnished. Art on the walls I'd picked out myself, not compromised on. A real kitchen setup I actually used, with cast iron pans I'd seasoned properly and a knife set that wasn't from a wedding registry. A balcony garden I'd started on a whim that now had tomatoes, basil, and peppers growing in neat rows. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.